Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Quantum Bridge. You can see today, because of our special guest who's returning, I also have a special Kung Fu t-shirt on for the occasion. Now, I'm well aware that this is Northern Mantis and we're more familiar with the Southern style, but I also like my movies, and you can check out Ultimate Fight Clan on YouTube if you like Kung Fu movies too. But I shall pass over to Casper to introduce our guest today and what we're going to talk about.
Promoting your brother there.
I am promoting my brother.
Good stuff. It's good stuff. Yeah. Well, you've both got decent t-shirts on. I'm doing crocodile Kung today. It's only a small crocodile, but
the French style.
Yeah, the French style. Yeah. I'm using sabat legs and crocodile upper body. Anyway, without further ado, Zoltán, welcome. Lovely to see you again. How are you?
Nice to see you again. I'm fine, thank you very much. I'm a little bit tired, but not because of training, because too many things happened and I don't sleep too well or too much or enough. Or whatever, any of these
yeah, we can choose.
I'll relate with this. Yeah, I mean, my
up to you. Look at my face and you can choose one, which one you think it is. But anyway, I'm fine. And we haven't seen each other for quite a long time, at least half a year ago it was. I like the t-shirt. I think I know that channel and I've seen a few movies. I was a big fan of Kung Fu movies. Still I am, just I have a little different perspective now watching them than before starting Kung Fu, or even when we did Kung Fu at the early years. And I love them, actually, really. I love them. Mantis, you know.
Well, I think we saw there was one of your videos where I was surprised because I knew you liked the movies, but then you actually put in a proper old school Shaw Brothers clip with some Southern Mantis with Lo Mang in it. I was like, wow, he does like his movies. So that was great. Yeah.
I think I know which one you're referring to. That was the first movie I've seen in which Southern Praying Mantis was showcased.
He's the only guy really in the movies that does
it. Yeah.
It's good.
Anyway. So I hope you're also fine.
Yes.
Cats also are okay, all the cats.
My cat is next to me, but he's pretending he's sleeping just so he can sneak onto my lap during the recording, you know. So I won't put him out beforehand. So there might be a bit of sort of cat style Kung Fu, not tiger, but sort of little tiger maybe. Kung Fu.
But you developed a quite serious poker face, so no one can know that the cat is playing around you.
Could be there, could not be there. Who knows?
Yeah.
You know?
That's the mystery. The mystery.
That's right. Spiritual Kung Fu, obviously. Yeah. On that score, we three were going to discuss the whole area of sort of Chi. I know that the Chi aspect, I've always got the sense with you, Zoltán, that you never want to mystify your training too much. And I think that's, so we might touch on that throughout this conversation, but we've actually decided that we're going to talk because Zoltán has been away. He's been traveling, training with his master, released some wonderful videos during that period, not least The Gatekeeper, which I really, really enjoyed. And so did Gary and Steve, who's Gary's brother, and many others. I'm sure have really loved the work you've been doing. So one, thank you for doing that, because, you know, you're keeping alive a culture and a heritage that, very interestingly, even it's conceded from your Sifu, is something that now maybe the West are going to have to hold. Yeah, so we were just mentioning about this whole thing of Chi and energy and whatever, but we've decided that actually we want to talk about your travels. And specifically, I was interested in that whole area of who is going to take up the mantle in the short term and be sort of the light bearers, the torch holders for sort of traditional Chinese Kung Fu, because maybe the appetite in the East has fallen away a bit because it's been theirs for so long that maybe the West has to pick up on that, or other parts of the world, and then sort of reintroduce it back with what we might bring to the table. I don't know how you feel about that, but that was the sense that I've been getting from your Sifu Ip Chee Keurng. So I just wondered whether or not you would sort of agree with that, or have been getting that sense too.
Yeah, this is a very interesting question because obviously, so we see 74. Obviously, after a while, the question will raise more and more. And who is the next one who keeps this system going in the next few decades? And and I hope this won't happen just from one day to another. And he will still be able to practice. And we had several talks about this topic before, and his opinion or his view was very clear. He said that unfortunately, in that area in Hong Kong, China, people are not that much interested in learning traditional kung fu anymore, or as much as it was before. And when I was there in Hong Kong, because last year I went there twice, I was in May and I was in October. These are in general the best times to go there because otherwise it's quite hot. And before he told us that he thinks that this will extend in that area, or at least on that level what he thinks is good. So people will have no interest, maybe a few of them, but no one is taking it seriously. And later on, maybe in a few decades, Chinese people who would like to learn and get back to this tradition, they will have to travel to Western countries to be able to learn from a good source. That was his view, and I think maybe still it is his view. At least in the Gatekeeper movie, you could sense this kind of mood what he has, which. And I also asked him, we asked him before that, is it for his point of view a little bit sad? And he said, no. The most important is that someone is keeping this alive. If this happens in the other corner of the world, it's still okay, but should be someone or somewhere this available, accessible for people who are really interested to learn something like this. But what I think, what I can add to this, it's somehow sad, because the Chinese culture, if I would look to any culture who has a deep knowledge in something or specialized in something which the whole world knows about and they think it's valuable, and when that disappears from that country and they would have to travel in a few years in another country to try to learn it, it's a little bit sad. And this is also a special case because not talking in general about Kung Fu, not just about this system, that it's deeply rooted in ancient Chinese traditions and culture. And in some cases, like if I go a little bit deeper into it, when you take the poems, many systems have poems, which I kind of post signs or reminders to teachings. And in many cases, it's not easy to translate them because they are referring to certain persons in the history of China, certain events, or they are using encrypted words, which you can understand if you're Chinese. But even my shirt, what is on me right now, which has a sentence about shock power. If you go to Hong Kong, people can read, but they don't understand it. Only those people who have a background in Kung Fu. And in many cases, Western people maybe would never have that deep understanding of culture, what make this thing be more or deep or more with flavor, if you know what I mean. And that's why I think this is somehow sad, because many things will disappear in this way. And I'm not necessarily talking about understanding the system, but all the cultural and philosophical background, which is so heavily or deeply rooted in the culture, that if you're not someone who was born there or had some deep connections, then you will never really understand it. So that's why I think it's sad. But if that happens, you can't really do too much. against it. So
I think this is fascinating. I agree. I personally feel a sadness around it. It's wonderful if there are some out there who can sort of let that go to some degree. But even down to this thing I saw in some of your videos, like the buildings themselves. And I've been, I've spent, well, a series of years actually in Hong Kong myself. So 4 years from 97 through to 2001, I was there. And, this thing of some of the older buildings going and some of these traditions maybe not being taken forward, I do find it, profoundly sad in one aspect. And then obviously, as you're rightly saying, there's this other aspect that maybe things are meant to blossom in other parts for a while, and not necessarily just outside China, by the way, but wherever they need to blossom,
wherever they need to,
be kept alive.
Yeah. That's true. And now I'm a little bit happy because he has now again some students in Hong Kong, which he never had before for many years. So honestly, if I really think deeply and truly about this system, I would say the place of this knowledge, the next torchbearer or gatekeeper or someone who is really representing this art should be really the best should be Chinese. Okay, someone from there who really knows he's in the culture, he understands the tradition, he understands everything. That's what I think. So normally it should belong there. Well,
I tend to agree with you, because also the language, given that I've at least a cursory knowledge of Cantonese and certainly Southern Chinese culture to some degree, as much as maybe you can have as a Westerner who doesn't live there all the time. But I would say that there is such a deep root in the language and the culture, obviously, and the Kung Fu itself, or the training and so on. And of course, what you're touching on, those philosophies, like you might say, in Japan, for example, the whole area of sort of haikus and whatever, you've got words that represent a depth that are also mirrored in the art. So when you might say that the well is never ending in terms of the actual training and what can be brought out and brought up in the training itself, obviously that's the same in the depth of the Chinese culture, is so deep and so rich that when you're talking about these words that are infused with all different flavors and sort of underlying concepts that aren't immediately seen on the surface, I think it is actually very important. To me, it would feel wonderful if that can be kept alive in the home of the art.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree. I had before some discussions when we wanted to translate some things with people who has Hakka roots. And even for them, it was very difficult to explain, because, for instance, we have this word like gang, which refers to power, but it has a much more rich meaning. It means much more things. And in some cases, only those understand the additional meanings who have a background in this system, or in the Hakka arts, or Southern martial arts. Otherwise, this only word loses a lot of content, and that's why sometimes it's very difficult to give further knowledge to people, because when we are saying words in our language, of course in English and in Hungarian we have words which have a bit more they have maybe an emotional content which cannot be transferred via writing. It's in the context when you're speaking or talking.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But in what I experienced, at least when we try to translate poems or words or sentences, that it's even much more complex in some cases, and it has this and that, and if you put in context with this, it means something else, and it's much richer. So it's very interesting to see this, and then you understand that it's not like that you just translate things. You could about, let's say, Chopin, you could write many things which is included in these few words when you talk to someone who understands what it is.
Yeah, and also you've raised an interesting point, because of course a lot of this coming out of the Gar community, you know, even the fact that then these words maybe have had to be moved into a sort of more Cantonese setting as well and incorporated in that. And then you've got the history of the characters, you've got these traditional Chinese characters that have a huge amount of meaning and are very intricate, and then you've got the more simplified characters now.
Yeah.
This whole cultural melting pot in the background, none of this makes any of this stuff easy to navigate, does it?
Yeah, no, exactly. So
Yeah.
so that is the case, and we will see. That is why we said a few years back that we want to create a knowledge base. Okay, so what we are doing in this program is, from one point of view, is also knowledge base, which can be accessible, because I think there was never before such an intense or integrated knowledge base of this system, which obviously is not 100% perfect. It can be, because if you go anywhere, you travel to southern China, you can see different variations and different representations of the same thing. But as I said many times to students, that the essence of it should be always the same principles, same approach, same rules, even if it is different. Of course, it's different because some people have a different taste. They are favoring things as individuals, which they like more. So they are focusing on this, on that. They change slightly things. So that's not a problem. But we wanted to create something to not just let it vanish or disappear in the next decades. And and from this point of view, let's say in the digital era, we're trying to be
absolutely
kind of torchbearer or someone who is trying to put it together, something which otherwise is very difficult to learn or to get access to.
And just coming back to that whole East and West thing for a second.
Yeah.
Sorry, mate, do jump in, Gary. But
No
just
problem.
the whole East and West thing is that is so important as well, just in terms of us as a world at the moment. And for a channel like ours, we touch on this Kung Fu area because Gary and I love it and are steeped in some of these traditions and whatever. But actually, the main ethos, as you know, of this channel is about sort of unity and bringing people together. And I think that although there's a sadness around what we've talked about in terms of the Chinese aspect maybe having to be modified and that being tough at the moment, this thing of the cultures coming together and something blossoming together out of that, and then that feeding back into a new, not something that's lost the history, because obviously we've all got a lot of reverence for that and we know why we need to treasure it, but something that blossoms out of this new dynamic. As much as there's, this sadness, there could be another type of expression as per what you do in the digital environment and with your own training. So I just wanted to say that there are a lot of positives here as well.
Yes, and what I absolutely agree. What one can add to this, that recently one of our Kung Fu brothers, who is our friends, and I met him in Hong Kong, Arturius Evo, who is known as Evo Basics on YouTube. He posted recently, or yesterday or today, a video about Sambo Jin, and he's talking about variations, and he's trying to, or he's basically saying that this is a living system which cannot be static or cannot be carved in stone completely. So it has an evolution, and I'm pretty sure that even 50 or 60 years ago it didn't look the same like it was in the 19th century when this was developed or created. And in this modern era also will change due to different things, like, as I said, like approaches of certain people, or like living in this era where UFC and MMA is very, 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 very popular. And you have to, if you want to be competitive, or you have to stay in line or remain alive,
remain relevant,
relevant in an era where it's this big competition in this area, then you have to some kind of adopt things or change things or adopt the system to this. and that makes the system a living system. But the only one thing what you have to be aware of, and for that you need really a knowledge and a support, a background, a strong foundational background to understand that what is really what you have to keep as a core, which doesn't have to be changed, have to be touched, because this is the heart or the soul or the motor of the system, which is the same always. When you get videos or you have access to videos which were filmed in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, whatever, until now, and you look at them and you know, yeah, it's the same system. It's slightly different because they are doing the forms or whatever in different way, but you can see that the principle, the power generation, the motor, the soul, the approach,
the foundation, yeah,
foundation is the same. That's what you have to keep. For this, you need the knowledge to understand what is that exactly. Otherwise, you're just creating something with.
Well, it just becomes freestyle at that point. So,
yeah.
Gary,
exactly.
sorry, please.
No, it's fine. It's just when Zoltán mentioned about the digital era, and I saw a program some years back where they recognized this issue of losing some of the martial arts. And they were saying that there's lots of really obscure styles that just one old guy knows somewhere. And, and it was actually, if you want to call it Hong Kong or China, were recognizing some of this. And they got the guys in and started to at least digitize them. They get them to do their forms and they say, well, at least we have some record of these things that at least existed, even if they do phase out, which, like I say, would be a real shame. But in terms of that sort of a time frame, because it's like anything. You want to learn anything, you have to dedicate a lot of time. But it's like with the martial arts, you can't just show a guy in a few weeks and they say, okay, now go and pass that on. It's years of dedication to be able to get to a level where you can say, well, I'm good at this, at least of some standard, that then I'm able to pass it on, sort of thing. I do show guys a few little things, but I wouldn't say I'm qualified to pass any of that on in particular. So there is that element of time as well. And like you say, and like see your master and get little touch-ups here and there. So that
absolutely.
I'm worried about that time scale. I don't know how you feel about that as well.
The times. So it's a very good question because they always try to compare this. That if we get back to MMA or UFC, to the modern era, okay, that people going to a UFC or MMA class, they say that they are becoming more effective in a shorter period of time, which in many cases it is true, but it does not depend only on that. Because as my Sifu explained to me, when he decided to learn the system, so to spend his life with the system, his father and mother asked him the question. They said to him that, okay, now it's the time that you have to decide whether to go, let's say, to a college or university, learning something, or learning
Chow Gar?
No. Yeah, Chow Gar is right. Chow Gar is the other path where he could go, but learning something. So having a job, occupation, or whatever you call it, being a professional in something, or he goes in this way and he's going to train all the time and learn new system and teaching it and so on. And he said that at that time, going to university and going to a grandmaster or Sifu and starting to learn a system and becoming a master was the same. It was equal. So not like today. It was like getting a profession. So it was the same serious thing, like learning something else and becoming a carpenter or a doctor or something like that. Which is obviously today is not the case. So today it's mostly a hobby. There are some professional people who are spending their lives or at least certain period of time when they are training, I don't know, 6-8 hours a day and becoming professionals and earning money out of this. If you would be able to do that, you would be most probably as quick with a good method or a good sifu as when you go to a gym or to a professional team and learn mixed martial arts and go to fight. That's what I really think. Maybe it's not the case with everything. I don't know. But the big problem is that people usually don't have time. So this is a hobby, and people are usually lucky if they can go down to train, let's say twice or 3 times a week for, I don't know, 1.5 or 2 hours. So with this approach, it's very difficult.
Yeah. Well, that's
to
a deeper
progress fast.
rabbit hole, isn't it, of the way society is set up in we
Yeah.
can go into that whole, you know, slave system. They'd rather you sitting at a desk and sort of rather than fulfilling passions, if you like. That make it very difficult to make a living from passions. Some people are lucky to do it, but it's very
usually it's not it's not common to be able to do that or willing to do that, because all the time you can choose, but people mostly don't choose this path. It's just really a few people who are going down to this path. And from this point of view, it takes much longer to reach, let's say, a very good level. If you could train every day, like 1.5 or 2 hours, you could be very good quite quickly in a few years. So
it's also about how much willingness people have, you know, to endure pain. Let's be honest about it. You know, in the Eastern traditions, that they have been willing, particularly in China, it seems to me, to actually tolerate incredible levels of pain and hardship over years. And to volunteer yourself for that is quite an ask for most people in the West, or has been. But I've got a feeling that now, over the last few years and other types of psychological pain, that people might be willing to accept more sort of longer term periods of austerity in terms of physical austerity to see the gift that you can get from that. And you have got people out there now like David Goggins, and there's a lot of guys in the West who are pushing this idea of, look, don't look for it all on social media. Don't look for anybody else providing you with these things. Go out and have that inner journey and see what you can attain. I'm not saying to do exactly what they're doing, but that mindset of saying, don't expect anyone to gift these things to you. They come only from hard work. Doesn't matter how much money you've got. There's certain things you can only have from hard work. I think that's a nice place maybe to sort of leave this today.
Yeah. Okay. Absolutely. That's the same, I think. Same what I think. It's we also tell to our students that I can show you everything. I can explain you everything. I can let you feel everything. The only thing I can do in your behalf is to really understand and make it deep inside you. So that's the border where I have to stop. I just can't go further than that.
I just want to say as well, Zoltán, thanks for all your time and energy, both with us and the channel, everything you're doing with your own channels and so on to bring this out, because I think you are doing something that is obviously important to you and your own training and those around you, but it has ripple effects on behalf of your Sifu and anyone who loves these arts. So I do want to, you know, thank you very much for doing that. Yeah.
Thank you very much for inviting me. And I'm very much like to talk to you anytime.
Brilliant.
When you wish to.
Well, I think we'll finish there as we're running out of time as usual. And I'll just say it's very interesting because we talk about the Kung Fu and the martial arts and the way we started with the Kung Fu movies is very similar. That you know, Hong Kong used to be the sort of powerhouse of Kung Fu movies, but so many other countries now are picking up that mantle. Not as good in my things, you know, there's a certain golden era, I would say, but it's great to see it spread out. And even in the UK here, we have people bringing back Kung Fu cinema where you can go and see the old classics on the screen. So it is some of us Westerners you know, keeping this stuff going. So this is
Yeah, we love it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
only one interesting thing just to mention about preserving the culture, which was very stunning to me, that when I was in Hong Kong, I've seen lots of advertisements. If you go into the MTR, you know, there's a TV screen, you can see advertisements all day. Or in many cases, during the training, the TV is on, and also advertisements are running. And looks like it's a tradition that the TV is on when you're training. And the funny thing was that I've seen lots of Taekwondo and karate and Thai boxing advertisements. No Kung Fu. No Kung Fu advertisement at all. Which it's not, I'm not against these styles or systems, don't misunderstand. I was really at the cradle of Kung Fu, and I haven't seen any advertisement.
Well, we're bringing it back.
Here.
All of us, we're bringing it back.
Right. Brilliant. Hope to see you again soon.
Yeah, I hope we can see you
Zoltán.
again soon, Zoltán. I'd love to ballot as well.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, guys.
And to your family.
Have a nice week. Thank you. Same to you, to the cat, everyone. Be well.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, Zoltán. Bye. Bye.